So thank you for coming again. This is week number 6, and this is like hump week. And we're going to do something very, well, not in our usual vein. And that is silence our devices. Yeah, if we're, or out of the room completely, but we are going to pause, and our pause is kind of a scheduled pause, and that is for us to do a little bit of reflection, a little bit of adjustment. This is, when your car isn't broken, you still have to take it in for an oil change and a tune-up, etc. This is going to be our time to do a little bit of a tune-up. And so, but I want to do our regular welcome. And so I want to light our candle. And our candle representing the nature of the work that we're doing, and our candle representing the difficulty of what we're up against, and the light that will prevail in our situations here. I'm going to go through very quickly our normal overview, but I want to, I'm going to come back to all of these things. You know that we talk about our focus and our metavision being creating a world that works for all. We know that our primary value is inclusivity. We know that we are focusing on the 3 Ds: direction, devotion, and discipline. One of the reasons why things are, we still have to do our physical grounding. I want to launch into what I want to talk about, why we're bunched up here. But I think that we need to still be in the room and focused. So let's start with our head rolls to the right, as much as you can do, 3 times. I should say as far as you can extend. Then go the other way. If you were sitting in my seat, you could hear my neck popping. Then 3 emphatic yeses, shoulders down. Then 3 equally emphatic no's with your shoulders down. Then 3 shoulder rolls forward, as big as you can make them. Then 3 shoulder rolls backwards, as big as you can make them. Then alternate shoulder rolls forwards. Then alternate shoulder rolls backwards. Okay. Right hand up, over your head, left ear, and you're going to lean to the right while holding on to your seat. And feel that stretch in your neck and your shoulders. Then we're going the other way. Then we are going to look over our shoulder and do as big a crack as we can in our back. And then we're going to go back the other way. Not too far, though. Okay. We're going to not do the beginning acknowledgments for a reason, and but we are going to seed our sacred altar, and we're going to hold our object in our hand, and our object represents us. It represents the sharing of our energy, the sharing of our protection, the sharing of our intention, the deepening of our process, lessening our personal self-identification, bringing our highest self into this process, and represents our intention to participate fully. And so when we are ready, if we can place our object on our altar, and I know that everybody has had a different day than mine, hopefully better than mine. I wish you well. And so let us take 5 minutes, and we're going to meditate to bring ourselves fully into the room and get us squared away. And I'm not going to sound the bell this time. Deep breath together. That's another one, and it makes some noise when it comes out. come back to center, please. And we're going to do something that got left off the Shadow to Light plate when we started doing Shadow to Light 2017, and I don't know how it got left off. And so this is a modification of the chant that we do in during the visual meditations. And you know that is a Buddhist chant. May all beings be well, may all beings be secure, may all beings be happy. The modification that we've done with that is to first start with yourself. So the first part of the chant is, may I be well, may I be secure, may I be happy. Once I get that, okay, the next thing is, may you be well. And when we do that part, we act, so the first part is, may I be well, may I be secure, may I be happy, not quite that fast. And then the second part is, may you be well, may you be secure, may you be happy. And when you are doing that, look at somebody in the room, okay? Even if they're looking at somebody else, you are sending that energy to them. And then the third part of it is this representing all other beings. May all beings be well, may all beings be secure, may all beings be happy. So shall we do that now? Okay. So, may I be well, may I be secure, may I be happy. May you be well, may you be secure, may you be happy. May all beings be well, may all beings be secure, may all beings be happy. And so it is. Yeah. Okay, so we'll be doing that, okay, because, and I'll tell you, this pause moment, first of all, I'll describe the pause. We know we're doing, in Shadow to Light, we're doing 4 shadows and 4 lights. Well, that adds up to 8, doesn't it? And we're doing 12 sessions. So we had some extra sessions built into our process, because I knew that a time would come up when we would just have to pause and reflect. And if not, I had 2 other shadows, a shadow and a light to deal with. That's the shadow of death and then the light of transition. We still may do that. We still may wind up doing that in, we've done both of those in one session. So, we're not missing anything by taking a moment to take stock right now. I've been traveling most of the month of September, and in various unity gatherings, and talking to some of the people who actually are getting who are getting the video of what we do, and recognizing that we've got, number one, people are really, really happy that we're doing the work. I've run into a number of people who said, I really feel like I'm part of the Portland group. Like they know some of you by name. You're stars. And also, there's some things that are not working well, okay, that can stand some improvement. For all of the level 3 folks, we know how that has not been working well, and we're not going to talk about that here in the room. a fix is on the way. We're going to be so happy when that happens. But I just want to talk about for everybody, for all of us, how is this going? Before we do that, though, I want to share with you another part of our pause is to take stock of where we are since we've got, this is session 6. We've already had 2 shadows and 2 lights. And so I want us to take a look at where we are, if that's okay. Y'all are going to be doing a lot of talking, so I'm not going to do a check-in right now. I'm going to try to marshal our time a little differently. So if you can take that in that direction, and you can take that in that direction, and I'm going to hold on to this. This is something I usually don't give the full sheet out at the halfway point. I generally only give the parts that we've already covered. But I'm giving you the whole thing so that you will know where we're going, okay? So this is I call the shadow and light matrix. I want to first point out the bottom row, the row that's in yellow. So any legitimate need, any legitimate aspect of our divine plan or our lives on the planet or life, any of them, when you add fear to it, turns into the shadow. Okay? So if I have physical hunger, and I do every once in a while, once a month or so, I have to eat, right? And so, okay, you can tell I've eaten more than once a month, okay. And that is called normal, it's called healthy, it's called good for you if you're eating the right stuff. But when you add fear to it, it twists it into something that is not healthy, not wholesome, etc., and then that becomes your shadow. So when you're talking about getting rid of the shadow, we're not talking about getting rid of the underlying need or the underlying aspect. What we're talking about doing is getting rid of the fear that surrounds the underlying aspect. So when we look up at the first row, we all have a need for safety and we all have a need for security. Think of the things that you've done in your life that you do regularly that add to your sense of safety and add to your sense of security, okay? However, when you approach it with fear, then you're afraid of pain, you're afraid of harm, you're afraid of the possibility that you may be suffering, okay? And you go through all these steps to try to avoid it, and that avoiding can be in the form of gated communities, that avoiding can be in the form of, I'm not going to talk to those people, which then starts giving us otherness. That avoiding can go into a form of, I need to get more and more things for myself so I can be safe and secure, and then that gives us hoarding. You know, so all these things are interconnected. Once you get to that fear, the shadow is expressed in some way. In the sense of violence, it's expressed through violence and isolation and armoring. In the sense the sense of otherness, it's manifested by racism, sexism, classism, different levels of oppression, which are attempts to control somebody else's behavior. And then you get a story behind that. Remember, for those of you who read chapter 5, Your story is the reason why you do your culture. Your story is the why behind all of your cultural behaviors. So I've got 10 guns because the story is violence is in human nature and it can't be changed. I'm just following my human nature. Or I have to be violent in order to protect myself, okay? In the denial story of the other, it's, oh, I'm colorblind. I don't see any differences. Everybody's exactly the same to me. And then they start acting like they're not, okay? I don't do any of those things. Somebody else is doing those things. Or differences are part of human nature. They can't be changed, and therefore it's okay for me to treat someone else the way I would not want to be treated. So all of that says we need to respond, but the response can be shallow or surface. And I don't mean, by that, I don't mean the response is bad or wrong. It just doesn't get to the real issues. So the first thing that you see when there's a bad incident like what happened in Las Vegas, we have to have more gun control. And then there are people running people down with trucks. Well, you have to more truck control. And then somebody will use kitchen knives, and we have to have more kitchen knife control. But you're not going to control ourselves out of the underlying fear that creates the shadow. In terms of the other, you need more diversity programs and training, or forced integration, or forced separation, where the forcing doesn't address the underlying consciousness issue. The light, of course, is instead of having gun control, everyone feeling peaceful, everyone feeling secure, and therefore everyone not having the need to perpetrate violence and not having the need to have a violent response if someone is violent to them. And the practice of nonviolent forms of security. What can you do that is that will enhance security while minimizing violence? In terms of the other, the light is deep connection with all other beings and being in an inclusive and dynamic, like living, alive community. And that's what we were talking about my time in rural Indiana last week. I also want to say, Reverend Lisa, thank you for warming my chair in a quite dynamic way. You actually look better than I do in it. So don't get too comfortable. Things may change here. So yes, but thank you. So while I was there, I was looking at communities that were dead. There are people walking around, and the restaurant was open, etc. But you look at the expression on people's faces, and they hadn't smiled in weeks, and there's just this emptiness there, and it's not an inclusive community. It's not a dynamic community. It's not a living community, which is, again, really interesting. Oh, but I'm talking about rural Indiana, not the Unity group I was working with. They were really lively. The people in the hotel kept peeping in the door like what are they doing in there? Yeah.
What part of Indiana? Southern?
I don't know. Northern, I guess. Yeah. I drove it, but I have no idea where I was driving. Miss Google said turn right here, turn left there.
I live in Columbus, Indiana, so that's fine.
Okay. I know. There's no town anywhere near anything. So yeah. So it's 4 hours. It was 4 hours from the Chicago airport. That's all. So yeah. So hang on to this so that you can start seeing when we get to lack, we get to despair, when we get to enoughness and abundance and fulfillment, you can start seeing the interrelationships between all of these factors. Any questions about this? Yes.
Well, if we just talk about the fear a little bit.
Yep.
What about consciousness to the fear? That it's that we're in and out of fear, like, oh, here I go again.
Right.
Like, does that alleviate some of that shadow?
Absolutely. That's your first step. That, like, I see what I'm doing. I can see that I'm doing this. You may not do any different. It's just that, okay, now I recognize that this is not me. This is this thing over here called my fear. Okay? Once you can get a little bit of distance from it and start seeing the interactions, then you can choose your interaction. Okay? And so what was happening in rural Indiana is I had lots of opportunity to interact with my other or not interact with my other. I mean, folks are doing that kind of glazed over look like there's not really anybody there, you know, I'm just going to keep walking and just act like he's a piece of furniture and, you know. And a lot of times I kept walking. You know, it's like I don't have to, not my issue. I'm leaving here in a couple of days. And then I just start remembering, oh, that's my other, okay? And I have to interact with that other in a very different way. Any other questions? Actually, something I said in the level 3 room I should not have said. I take all those words, I take some of those words back. I'm going to say them all again now. Having the other doesn't mean that you necessarily like the person. So this isn't something where I'm trying to get you to like your other. I'm trying to get you to recognize that your other is as worthy of respect as you are, is as worthy of your support as you are. So I announced, oh, I'm okay. We didn't talk about Mr. Sausage in here. Okay. So the hotel we were in had a breakfast buffet, and it was a fairly long buffet, and there's nothing on the buffet I could eat, nothing. And there's this one guy who had a plate of sausages. He had like piled high with sausages, and so he had a plate of that, and then another plate had eggs and biscuits and gravy, and he's walking. And this is my other, okay, in terms of the food he's eating. This is, I thought he was taking like sausages for like 10 people on at this table. He ate by himself, you know. And so he did not ask me to approve of his breakfast. If he had asked me, I would have said, no, I don't approve of your breakfast. But that's your breakfast, you eat it. I had no need to control his behavior. And so he was other to me with this food that he's eating, but it's almost like, so what? I defend his right to eat it. His food is there, he's registered at the hotel, he has a right to eat it. He ate his sausage, my sausage, you know, 3 or 4 other people's sausages, you know. And so, so my relationship to my other is, am I willing to treat the other the way that I would want to be treated? So if we went up to a salad bar and there's bean sprouts on the salad bar and he's frowning because who would eat bean sprouts? You know, it's like, yeah, but are you going to defend my right to do so? You know. Well, so one more aside. I asked one of the wait people if they had any chicken sausage, and she looks at me like, "What's that?" It's just like, I'm in a foreign country here, so yeah.
So about the other, I got what you said. So what about our thinking and our words about that situation?
Right.
Can you talk about him in a way that's degrading to other people?
I think I just did. I had a whole lot of other thoughts when I saw him. You know.
And did you try to control him, like with your observer saying, "Oh, here I am again"? So
Yes, and I own my behavior. I own even the thoughts that are driving the behavior. He didn't do any of that. I'm doing it. I'm doing what other people complain about, you know. And so this is all on me. Okay. Now, if he had said, "Here, have a sausage," I would have said, "No, thank you." I could get judgmental and, "Look at you, look how out of shape you are. This is all because you're eating all those sausages." And would I want that if we reverse the situation and I'm eating my bean sprouts and would I want him to come down on me because I'm eating bean sprouts? You know, so that's to me the litmus test in terms of how we are practicing inclusivity. We can't. It's not. I'm going to pretend I accept something that I'm not accepting, but I'm going to recognize that you have the right to do this. And you have the right to live with the consequences of it. And he's going to say something. Okay.
Well, rights I don't know why rights come into it, because that's just really a social construct, but I think of a situation, my other would be somebody who's idling in their car. You know, same situation. I go through the judgment of, you know, why are they idling their car? They're just sitting there pulled over. They can turn their car off, not be emitting pollution. And of course, they have a right to do it. Of course, they can do it. They're doing it. The thought process, what you're saying, that my thought process, what I want to do is I want to change that behavior. That behavior is not okay. So I have the thought process. To me, it's really about engaging them as not the other and coming at them as a friend and expecting, but you never know how that interaction is going to go. So that's how I'd approach it.
So what I would say to that is that step 2. Okay, I have to get to step 1. I've got to get okay with him before I can really engage him with, you know, hi, how are you this morning? Why the hell you got all those sausages? I can't.
I wish Susan was here to hear us.
Yeah, I'm still working on this. Okay. Yeah, and yeah, and it may take a couple of conversations for you to get to a point of saying to someone, you know, when I used to own a car, I used to shut my car off when I came to a light because I was polluting the atmosphere and wasting a whole lot of money, and you must have a lot of money to do that, or find some way to engage him without you trying to be superior and without him trying to be defensive, putting him him or her on the defensive, But yeah, that's step 2 in this process, Shoot. So, yes.
We had a phenomenon in the country with T-shirt there, and some people supported that, and some people did not.
Right.
So that was kind of recognizing the other and being in support of that, and then others not really fully understanding what was happening initially with the Black Lives Matter that was started, a year ago in terms of that action, that activity on the football field?
Yes. I can see someone saying we need your shirt now. Okay. He has the right to political expression, and that is a political expression guaranteed by the First Amendment to the Constitution. And whether I would agree with him or not agree with him, he has the right to do that. And I also have the right to say I respectfully agree with him or I respectfully disagree with him. And then I can get incendiary, and that doesn't help anybody, And we can recognize the validity of the issue on multiple levels, and then recognize that this response is not a response that's going to actually transform the situation. And on that note, I'm thinking I'm going to not ask for any more questions and get to the point where we start the process of reflection here. So I'm going to say something 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'm going to ask us to either do this as a whole, or I think I'm going to break us into groups and have you talk to each other about this. Over the course of the past 5 weeks, 5 weeks for some, 6 weeks for others, the site leaders have reported back to me in various ways, various suggestions on how to improve the process, questions about why are we doing things this way as opposed to that way, suggestions that I have accepted, and some of the suggestions I haven't accepted, some of the suggestions I've postponed, etc. But we've gotten to a point where there are a couple of things, and again, we're not talking about the certification process, but there's a couple of things that are happening that need to get addressed. And the one that's the most important for me, and the one for which all of the other issues kind of revolve around, is this is the, I think, 4th or 5th different iteration that we've done Shadow to Light. And the work is not, I am not feeling the work going deep. I'm not feeling it, and as you know, when you're doing transformation work, it's out beyond your senses. So it's like, it doesn't look a certain way or smell a certain way or taste a certain way, but you kind of know this, like that tingling in the base of your spine or in your gut or wherever, where you are hitting that core, so that when we talk about, as a representative of humanity, I am banishing the shadows, that you feel that you are involved in doing the work. And I have the feeling that, I feel that we've been reading all the right words, but it really, I haven't had that moment in the past 5 weeks where I've sunk into it and said, whoa, you know. And we were having regular whoa elements where you could actually look, where we would sit in a circle and they say, did you feel that? And he was, yeah, I felt that. It felt like an icy wind went through the room, or it felt warm all of a sudden, or it felt, I mean, we were really in this fertile place of energy transformation. That is the core of what we're doing here. I mean, we're learning a lot. We're doing personal work. We're, I think, you know, doing some. I mean, I've been having fun, you know, but it's really interesting. You don't know what you're missing until you actually miss it. So every Tuesday, I've been walking out of here saying, you know, like, did I get everything? And it's like, yeah, it's just that feeling that you had of, like I said, literally sinking into an energy vortex and doing change work with other people in the same energy vortex. I haven't felt that here. And the other sites, a few of the other sites are saying, we're not feeling it either. Some of the other sites are saying, we got it, we're feeling it. And so we are going to have a conference call on Thursday for all the site leaders to start talking about this. But there are some things, so what I've been doing for the past few days is asking the question, what's different about Shadow to Light 2017 than what has happened in the prior iterations of Shadow to Light, where we did have this energy shifting experience. Things like that expanded chant, the may I be well, may I be secure, may you be well, may you be secure, just got, it's like a typographical error, just got left off the scene. And again, I didn't miss it until I went back, started looking for it. Is that something that is important enough to change the energy? I don't know. One of the things, because our circle is so big, we've been sitting way back from each other. Now, what I did at the expense of sight lines for a lot of people, well, for a few people, is bunch us together. So we're all sitting closer to the altar than we were when the chairs are moved further back. Is that going to be enough to shift the energy? I don't know. The purpose of the visual meditation is to open the door in this energy vortex. And then when we start doing the declarations, to kind of go into that. I don't know if the visual meditations have been shifting, and if they've been shifting, when we stop, the energy shifts right back, you know. So it hasn't been well, I haven't felt open the door. Perhaps what we need to do is go right into the declarations, right from the visual meditation, without a discussion about them, because discussions pop us back up into our heads. Is that a possibility? Yes, that's a possibility. One of the things, I'm just kind of laying out some of the differences, and then One of the very obvious differences is that we got cameras in the room. You know, we've got all this tech stuff. Does that skew the energy? I actually don't. I see all our heads going no, so we're okay with that. I think this is about as inobtrusive a set of cameras that you can have, and so yeah, so those are some of the things that I've been working on or thinking about, and each of us may have some other things that we want to suggest around that.
I'm glad you're really talking about this. And Lisa, you could just talk more about this and expand it. Like I did a course with Mary Morrison, and I thought it was going to be very similar. And in that program, there was such a take ownership.
Right.
And somehow I don't feel like I've done that enough. But I can't tell you how to do it.
Well, say more about that. What do you mean by take ownership?
Well, we should be doing more writing personally. Maybe that's what the other group is doing.
Right.
But maybe that's what I should be doing.
Right.
I write down what's going on with me.
Right.
And I make my own statements. These are your statements.
Right.
I need to somehow reorganize them for their mind.
Right.
And although, I mean, they're great,
Right.
I sometimes feel real automatic. That I'm just going through the motions, but it's not mine yet.
Right. And I can tell you that that has happened in most of the Shadow to Light groups, that after a while, and that's why I ask all of us to do this together, but after a while people say, I need to embellish this for when I'm doing this on my own, I need to say it a different order, different way, etc. That's fine once you get the core of it, you know. So yeah.
So do you want our opinions now? Because I thought you were gonna stop the tape, and then we would process ours, and then other groups would, or do you want us to go?
Well,
into
see,
this now?
this is the thing. This is the point, and this will be a nice little marker. This will be the point where we stop the tape for those who are in the other sites, and they're going to go into their discussions. However, remember, there's a dozen people who are doing this solo, and you are their group. So we're going to continue to have the cameras rolling so that they get the benefit of our discussion.
Great, I just
Yeah,
didn't know.
yeah.
what-
That's actually been one of the suggestions that has been made, is I guess freedom from the tyranny of the video. The other sites say, okay, now we know what to do. We know there's candle lighting and altar building and stuff like that. Let us do that part, and let us just flip on the video when there's something that we absolutely, like when Sharif is talking, or when there's the visual meditation or the such and such. Let this discussion just be this discussion. I'm willing to consider that. So, yeah. Let's get a couple more individuals, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. Yeah.
I have a couple of thoughts, and one is, time-wise, it seems to me like when we're at the point to do the visual meditation, we're always kind of squeezing it in, or we're about out of time. And I know, at least for me, it feels like it's hard for me to sink in when I know we're sort of up against it time-wise.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if this would affect the energy or not, but I think it would be important for all of us to monitor our airtime a little bit, because I think and so I'm an introvert or internal processor, and I tend to speak up less. We have other people who are extroverts who tend to speak up more, and I think we hear from the same voices more often, and it might change the energy if we're all monitoring that, keeping track of that.
Okay.
Early on, This is the first thing, not even thinking about the 3Ds, direction, devotion, and discipline. I started doing the meditation and declarations, everything in the booklet, first thing in the morning. I'd never done that before. I mean, I've tried to meditate, you know, regularly, but I've only missed a couple days in 5 or 6 weeks.
Okay.
Yay. So all of that, all of the 3Ds are enabled or enacted in just that half an hour a day. And there have been times when, little touches of that spark of feeling that comes from repetition. I mean, repetition is rote, but eventually something seeps through there to the heart. And so I've noticed some of that, and particularly in some of my behaviors too.
I mean, it's the reason why in the military you go marching up and down the field. It's to get your behavior to think like the group, as opposed to, that's what we should do. We should do. Yes, with guns. Yeah. But yeah, it really is. I mean, I find myself actually saying out loud, may all be, mumbling to myself, may all beings be well, may all beings be secure, may all beings be happy, when I'm feeling like I'm in kind of like a major other mode. So yeah.
For me, I feel like there's several different things, one of which is I need the sacred. And I don't feel like I've gotten there in unity. I am used to an opening prayer, and I'm used to going deep. And I'm used to trusting that there's a presence and a process that happens through all of us as we tie into that, and we all put aside all the junk that we came in with and really open to that. So for me, it becomes a really sacred process, and that's something I need. When I go into learning about the shadow of violence, I need to be able to know what it is. I need to have enough information in my hands, some of which is in writing, that I can take home and look at again, because we only get about 10% of what we're hearing here. But I need to have enough that I can state it and know what it is and go back and look at it and say, what happens with me? Then I need to know, how do I apply it? Because it's one thing to hear, we want to get over here. But there's nothing that, if I can't say, so what is that journey to get over here? What does it look like? How do we put it into our lives? And so for me, the rote things, I am not going deep. The visual meditation is not taking me. I meditate every day. I have for decades now. But I'm not finding that depth within that visual meditation. And in Unity, we are used to a lot of prayer and a lot of meditation. So I feel like that's a big piece for a lot of us here, but also the idea that there has to be enough information that then we can really work on it at home too.
We've had parts of this conversation before, and I would really like to disagree with you, okay? I have, what I said when we had this conversation early on, is like, well, the sacred comes in, you know. Now, it hasn't been, so now I'm thinking, okay, hey, sacred. But we have had, I think, profound connection with each other, profound connection with the depth of the energy of the shadow, and like move it around. I mean, it moves back, of course, because there's 15 people working on it. Okay, but having the feeling that you're there in it. Okay, profound energy of bringing light in, and then feeling like you're about 3 or 4 inches taller. You know, of having that experience, and those experiences were not significantly different than what we've been doing, you know. Now, I know that there are people who go deep by doing yoga or by doing whatever. And I invite them to always bring that energy in, knowing though that there are people also in the room who not only would not go deep if somebody was sitting in a corner doing yoga, but would have the opposite effect for them, that they would shallow out, okay? So,
Except you're in a unique church, and you're in a unique group. I'm just
Not
reminding you.
unity.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I'm just
Yeah.
saying, you know, realize that the majority, probably 95% of the audience, I'm guessing, is within that context. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's a.
well,
something to work with.
I hear what you're saying. No, I shouldn't say if, when, I shouldn't even say that, as Shadow to Light expands, it will expand beyond the unity culture, okay? And I want it to, because that's going to, that will actually make unity bigger and more effective, et cetera. But as you are doing that, you have to be aware of the culture, okay? For example, there are 2 or 3 practicing Orthodox Muslims that I intend to invite to the next round. And they'll be sitting here, you know, and you will be welcoming them.
And I guess I've done that a lot, and I've worked with that, and I haven't ever had a difficulty, so this, maybe we can chat this later, but
Yeah.
I've never had a difficulty doing prayers that are just simply acknowledging this one presence and power, whatever we wanna call it, this idea, this quantum field that we live in, that we have the ability to allow it to expand in us, and that the wisdom in it allows us to move through it. So I guess I'm just saying, is there something we can add in this instance, in this group, over these classes, that would maybe just make it a little deeper?
Okay, I'm not saying no. I'm
Yeah.
just saying I got it. Okay, yeah.
Well, what I'd like to say is, again, there's a process and grounding. You know, we do our exercises and the whole thing. But even this loop tonight of our chant saying, I, you, all, I don't know if you felt, I felt a really deeper sense of being at that point. So I think, you know, just a matter of shifting little, processes.
Yeah.
You know, just so that it does feel inclusive to everyone, that it is all. But just that really made me feel good. I don't know about the rest of you, but it was a real shift. It was different.
Here, then somebody here, then me. Okay.
Might be helpful to me and perhaps to others to have some kind of statement of intentionality as we open, or somewhere towards the beginning, of just those of us in this room here in Portland who are under the cameras, that we set the intention for the energy in this room and for the interactions to serve all beings in this room, and also to serve all who receive this video. Like, there's just some piece for me that I think having the cameras is influencing me. There's more than a bit of some kind of performance of how am I gonna look, or is this gonna be useful to them, or should I just shut up so Sharif can create this product that needs to go to all these other people? And none of that is bad per se, but there's just somehow this room needs to work. Our interactions need to work for us and for others, and just, it's also kind of it's possibly a gift that we're offering to others outside of this physical space that would be helpful if we just overtly offer it, rather than just having it kind of be snatched from us by technology.
That's a very good point. Let me record that.
me? I've got them in
Yep.
class, okay.
Mhm.
I'm so glad you brought this up tonight, because I don't feel that depth yet, too. And I've made a space for it, I'm expecting it,
Mhm.
and I'm like, come on, let's go already, I want it here. I understand it comes time and transformation takes a while, but I don't feel that, and I think that by taking all these comments, I'm feeling a little more depth already. I do find the cameras, I'm not going to be open completely, because I don't feel safe with having, we create the sacred space here, which is really important to me, but having the cameras just shoots that out for me, so I don't feel I can examine those shadows. But I came here specifically to examine the shadows that are there, and I want to stir them up. The only time I felt the depth was when you had the first set of questions that you sent out, and I got very uncomfortable, and I found myself nudging, and I thought, this is good, this is what I need to go under to look for. So that was the one time. I do feel I lose interest when the slideshows come up, when the visual meditation slideshow comes up, because I want to close my eyes, and then I realize I'm going to miss the images, and then there's the time delay, I start to lose interest, and I'm going everywhere.
Mhm.
But the images themselves leave me meh. And the reason for that is that a lot of them are clip art. Some of them move me, some of them touch me, but the majority don't. I find myself I'm not moved by them. Sometimes I'm sitting right up front so I can see them, but I can't make out what the details are. And so those images are lost on me. I guess I need something I've been in advertising and marketing, so I like a simple picture that says something meaningful. When it's distance, I lose it. As far as setting the intentionality in the beginning of the class is so important to me. I think what I'd love to see is to have the intention set, what we're going to do tonight. This is what we're going to look for. We're going to examine this. And then at the end of the night, to recap it, I'm in the wisdom years, so sometimes I forget things. So when I get a recap at the end, I'm like, oh yes, I got that. Then when I leave here, I go home and I'm thinking about it. Or I'm having a conversation with my seatmate about it on the ride home. That's important to me. It just kind of solidifies what I'm learning. But the written lessons, because I can't share it verbally, I think the writing is going to be important for me, just to examine the shadow stuff down below.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Here first.
I was thinking about how much the levels change when we are communicating one-to-one. And the sensitivity that your whole being is more aware of that person, because there's several people in here that I don't know at all, and if I had a chance to spend even 3 to 4 minutes just having that connection on sharing our intentional ideas of what it is that we want to do as a service, or what we want, or what our hope is that we could achieve, or just have some little connection and do that 5 or 6 times, then as a group I think that we'd feel more connected as well. And I think probably from my years of teaching, it's like when you've got 26 kids, you have to figure out how are we going to make this feel like a group of one and everybody's buying in. So I feel really strongly about that, the caring, the love, the raising of consciousness that comes from that one-on-one, even though it's very brief.
Okay. Look, I had mine. Okay. And I just wanted to you were saying that you felt things go deeper because of the chant. I agree, and I feel that things went deeper when we're sitting closer together, okay? So this kind of like this proximity to each other. And so, I think you were going to.
But we have to ask the people outside of the circle how that feels.
Well, that's a question, okay? Not okay? Do you feel outside? Do you feel?
I don't feel outside of the circle. No, in fact, I just want to sit here and
Okay,
Release.
and do you feel outside?
I feel outside.
Okay.
And I've been trying for a while to come in to feel within. I would
Okay.
love to feel what I feel in my deep meditation when I do them at home.
Right.
For instance, I go really deep, as Dr. Lisa said. But however, just for what happened in Vegas, I meditated and prayed over that for over an hour. And when I finished, it came to me, different ones that I text, and I asked them to join and pray. Even my friends up in Trout Lake, I asked them to join and pray. And by my being deep in my meditation, which that came to fore for me to do this, to ask others to pray, to join and pray with me. You know, I mean, not over the phone or whatever, but just to pray, and we join and pray for those that was injured, the ones that lost or gave their lives. And me and my grandson had a talk about that this morning. I said, also I asked to pray for what we call the shooter. And he said, oh, Grandma, I can't do that. I just had to talk to you later about that. But as I was explaining to him, for him to commit an act like that, regardless of what the appearance of it seemed, he has had to have been in pain. And he has had to suffer. And we should pray for him as well.
We're over. I keep trying to break us on the hour, and we keep not being able to do that. Let's take a break. And then when we come back, I'm going to ask you some questions. And I want you to go into groups of 3 or so and respond, and then we'll come back. But come back in 10 minutes, please. So, what I want to do is ask you 3 questions. I want you to break into groups of 3, but for each of the questions, I want you to change your group. Okay, so this is going to be like musical chairs, and y'all are just going to dance through this, okay? So the first question is, I want you to name 3 good things that you think or feel or see with regard to Shadow to Light 2017 pilot program here. Okay? So 3 good things from this. Do you want all of the questions right now?
Yeah, why not?
Because you'll start thinking about question 3 and not focusing on 1. Okay. Then, what are 3 things that you would change with regard to Shadow to Light? Try to be substantive in that. Don't say, well, we need more depth. It's like that. Okay, we need more depth, and we need to get there by such and such. The third is very specific. Last week you had the experience that the other 12 sites have, in that you got me in a condensed version on a video. The other prior weeks, you get me kind of incorporated in and interacting with, and there are some of the other sites that have said this is not helpful for them. Okay, that what they want is me in that 20-minute time frame, kind of talking direct without embellishment. So how do you feel about that? How would you feel if what you get of me would be just a 20-minute video part, and everything else is going to be handled by somebody else?
I'd like to see an example of it. I mean, we could try it, for instance.
You had an example last week.
Not really though, because I followed your script. So it wasn't, I didn't put together something and then have you in
No,
it,
that
which
was
is
that.
the difference, like with Marymount and Morrissey.
Right.
Basically, so I just followed what you did, which
Okay.
is a little different than the class being shaped around it. So I don't know what that's.
Well, what the other sites are saying, I'm looking. I'm aware that they're looking at me right now. So, but what the other sites are saying is that they now have the script. They don't need to see it on video. They know when to put the altar together. They know when to do the meditation, et cetera, that all they need they don't need to see your discussion. What they need to see is just, the piece that I'm offering, and then they can build the rest of it around it. So, what would you think about that, about me not being here, but me being there? So, remember, we're going to switch gears at every question. So, we're going to spend 5 minutes on each question, which means y'all are going to get in groups real quick.
And so the last question
Was what your feelings about me being on a video as opposed to me being here in this seat?
And do we need to scribe in each one so we can get you these notes?
That would be very nice. Thank you for volunteering. But we'll be doing some reporting back out.
How big are our groups supposed to be?
3. So that'll be easier for people who are near you right now, but that's going to change with the next group. Oh, we may have to have one group of 4.
Question was, what do you like?
Does that work?
So we've got 4 and 3, and then we'll switch for the next one.
Yep.
You turned yours around.
Who am I with? Let me see.
Okay. So we're doing
Whoever put their sacred water bottle on the sacred altar should.
Holy water.
Is important.
I'm not hearing you well.
Yeah, I'm just gonna sit here.
So 3 things we like, isn't it?
I think it's good to ground them.
Okay. One of my,
So you're saying you like it too, and the content of it too.
Yeah.
Three good things from this class. One for me is that I am that I'm actually seeing the effect of whatever our different so
we should just be more aware of it when this class was
very first class we saw the images.
For me, all these, I'm not taking a three, so I started to remember quite well.
Just what you said. Personal level, I really appreciate that. And I was upset because I didn't understand and have no idea. And I thought it was really helped me ways. So I
in addition to his expertise in that. I like that. I like just the something will happen and you'll realize, oh,
I like the meta vision, you know, and keeping that in the forefront of, and like that, I'm always gonna look for I think the whole purpose, you know, of the program, and what we're trying to do, and, you know, I changed a little bit, but one of my things is like, I just think like, there's Paul, which is kind of, I really am putting 110%. And I think about it very much. I think people, like I was saying, I think something happened for me and maybe getting together outside of this group and, you know, doing a.
Okay, 1 minute, then we're gonna shift here.
Or something, you know, just getting together spiritually, getting together for dinner, mixing up groups, getting together, and just like, so that you know, how to go, even if it was a phone call, you know, for some supposed to be talk.
Maybe I'll take your.
Like, get together, face to face, you know, what's working for you, what's not.
Don't like, or do like?
Do like.
Do like.
And I've like,
Okay,
enjoyed those.
is the,
They're helping me, because I've really,
it's not
not meditating daily, but I've been really,
the,
much more.
the,
Didn't have any meditation practice. I used to,
feeling good.
plug it back in.
Without like even this is
Okay, somebody act in each group that is, of the group of 4 needs a little more time, sorry. Everybody else is gonna start moving to another group. Okay.
Somebody just, you just stay there. You stay there. Just got it today.
So our next question is, what are 3 things you would change?
something missing, and I think it was his presence.
There wouldn't be any way to get an answer unless the facilitator.
Wow, that's great. It's his really feel there. I think nobody can facilitate or do that more and we're trying to get the most out of it. And it's pretty nice here with if he wants to see it expand. So I feel like we don't have that and then what about can't see it in my arms, so that's how I'm thinking here. But I don't want this one to have both to say to him. I don't know how you have to hear last week, and so maybe he will know.
Yeah, I like the idea is a facilitator, have the all presentation and maybe do a video presentation that's very focused, because I think he does what I tend to do is my writing is really great.
We don't know what they're
I try to say what it is.
They're more community.
And his presentation, what he has to say, he says it at the book, and it's like, he's very thoughtful. But when he presented, it's kind of like, you know, and then with such a clear piece of information. Here is what we are talking about. And then it's like easier.
She's out of her, we've seen her, you know, with her message every Sunday about holiness. I just felt, I was really upset when I started. There was a right, that's another thing. I just sort of,
They are both babies, but at the same time,
and when our doubt, is it okay, doubtless.
Turn to the view of the whole here. Yeah, try to find it. Okay.
What are you doing
Careful
here?
not to hit the microphones. Thank you. Okay, I want to leave us time to do a non-visual meditation and to do our declarations. So let's get some responses. 3 good things.
I have one. Our group was 4, and we came up with, what I like about this class is the way in which I'm able to see perpetrators or the others differently. So I've had a shift, a big transformation, that's a plus. Another plus was, this is a place to talk about our prejudices. We have a place, in other words. Third was, I've learned to respect and not necessarily like the other. And the fact that we have a structure and a process to learn tonight. Meaty stuff, guys.
Okay. Anyone else?
Sharing from individuals helps expand my perspective. Seeing the other as being created equal just as I am, just subject to different circumstances.
Two other things were having the altar was a tremendous connection for all of us, and also having the critique tonight, having the ability to look at what we're doing and critique it.
Okay.
Entire group liked the materials book, liked exploring the whole idea of cultural differences and perception of enoughness, as well as synchronicity and examples that can come up and help awaken our consciousness to examine things more closely, or beings more closely, or ourselves more closely.
Okay.
And having access to your ability to have written several books and have all the different cultural and world travel experiences that you've had.
Okay. Is that about it? Yeah.
I'll just hit this one thing. I think I'll say two things. Is that, what I really like is what you say about, it's, the name of the class is A World That Works for All. It's not a world where everyone is ecstatically happy 24 hours a day.
That's the next class.
Right, I don't know when these.
You gotta pay more for that one, yeah.
No, I really like it because it's dealing with grief and anger and looking at, well, the other. If I was in this person's shoes, what would I do? You know, well. And my specific suggestion was in other groups where I felt a part of, and you know, this is, I don't feel alienated or whatever, is to go around the group, and I thought, well, there's so many people here, but since you're working with a lot of words like justice, peace, what is the word for today?
Didn't have one.
What?
Oh, we're going up on that.
Lack, right. Is just go around and maybe have people say, you know, a few, like, all right, like, lack. Name one word for your, what would you say about lack for
Right.
today?
Mhm.
All right, and just so people could focus and, you know.
Okay. Let's shift to the three things you would change.
Our group is very talkative.
Hmm?
Our group was talkative.
Okay.
We opted for 3 or 4 word check-ins instead of a minute each, because it takes half an hour, or no more check-ins at all. To add more writing materials so that we can walk away with handouts, something specifically.
Not quite so fast. Okay.
More writing materials.
Okay.
I gotta slow down from the New York way. Similar to these examples.
Okay.
Things that have questions, 3 points of discussion. And I
Okay.
can give these to you afterwards. These are
Got
that
it.
Unity puts out.
Okay.
So that's something that we can leave in meaty stuff. No more talk about the offsite process.
Okay.
So that we just focus on what the book is teaching and what the lessons are. So that we add the intention at the beginning of the class, and then we focus on that and not process. And, and one person had something really good, really meaty. I want to feel more inclusive here. I want to I feel a sense of staleness right now. And specifically, the suggestion was I read the Daily Word and that moved me deeply. And and I'd like to feel more of that.
Yes. Just how I was able to connect with Charles Fillmore and how his just the feeling of how he, regardless of what he was doing, if he had company, and he was in some activity, he was able just to drop right in to meditation that way. And I really felt, I could feel that, I could understand that, and I would like to have that same thing in here.
Okay. I want to go back to what you said. I didn't understand no off-site process.
Oh, in other words, no more talk about what's going on with the other groups per se. In other words, just focus on what happened this week in Las Vegas or with taking a knee. How does all those topics that are so hot right now?
Got it.
How do we talk about? That's what I mean.
Got it. Okay.
I'd like to see activities outside of this weekly meeting for us getting together.
Okay.
There's no flow to the process. It's disjointed. We don't have an agenda, or at times don't seem to stay on track. We just jump into meditation, no direction, overview. The lights and the cameras, no good.
Okay. Okay.
That was in my group.
In my group, request for more small groups, not sure how that would work with the camera, but some of the stuff like that takes a lot of time to do in a group of 20 might be useful to do in small groups. Regarding the visual meditation, feeling like it's squeezed for time, does it need to be scheduled at the end of the evening, or could it be earlier in the lineup of events? And then one person voiced wishing she could be a fly on the wall and beam in on the discussion of one of the other sites, since they get to spy on us.
Yeah, right. Actually, I think that's only fair. We should send spy cameras into find out what they're saying. They could be laughing at us. I mean.
Well, I know one of the realizations of things that would change, we talked about with Mary Mann Morrissey, realizing that her input video or DVD that she sends is 45 to 55 minutes each time. And so in a 2-hour class, that's how much so you're getting quite a bit of her and the information, and then the handouts go along with that.
Right.
And so I think that, and it's just an interesting way of.
So she's
looking at it.
got DVDs that go out how often?
Well, the DVD, so it's a package.
Right.
And you get, and so I put the DVD into the TV, that's how it came. And then that's 45 to, each week, it's 45, 50, or 55
So
minutes.
it's 45 to an hour each
Yeah.
week.
Of her input, this is the topic, this is what we're going over, and then really going deeper into it with stories and examples and things, and then the handouts that are there, so when you take the class, you get a notebook, and so they're actually already in there.
Right.
But each week, the 6 pages has those ideas and expands on it. So then we're in small groups, so I might have 4 groups of 5 that we're talking about this idea, what are the steps, what's your homework, what are you reading, what's the prayer, and so that's.
Yeah, we'll have to put that on our calendar to talk about also if you've got that. So, okay.
To go back to the fly on the wall and get some sort of feedback what other groups are getting, is there something you can do quick, like can site leaders email you some feedback other groups want to say to us? That probably burdens you, but is there some sort of, you can tell people to keep it short and simple, and so we can hear something from the other groups.
And are you aware that a lot of the times when we're sharing, doing our check-in, they've muted us.
Yes.
And they're doing their own. So they're not listening to our check-in or a lot of our processing, and that was good when I was doing it last week. It would just say, mute video. And I realized the other groups are muting that or turning it off while we're doing a lot of it. So they're not hearing.
So they're doing it too.
Yes, they're doing
yes
it.
and no. There's a couple of groups that are actually, they'll mute it, but they actually go back and play the parts where we're talking because they find that conversation is also valuable. And we're gonna,
Groups are pretty small too.
yeah, right,
They
but
need
there's some groups that are 7 or 8 as opposed to 20, as opposed to 30, so, yeah. Okay, last question. TV or not, well, video format for me or non-video format for me?
Unanimous in my group, no video,
Okay.
just you in person, flash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same
Okay.
with our group.
Okay,
Ditto, same with us.
okay.
It's
Oh,
always
well.
good, it's
Yeah,
always
see,
good.
you're such a popular.
And I really think that question is the other groups trying to decide how does their group function?
Correct.
Because they have no choice but to.
Yeah.
Right,
The question
right.
is, do they want all of us or they just want you?
Right,
There
And
was
I think
one,
right.
there was one group, I think we decided, it would really be preferable to have you, but it could be made to work the other way.
Yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead, yeah.
Well, what I'm seeing is an in-between situation. You can come and speak the 20, 30 minutes, whatever, and it be recorded here, and we're an audience,
Right,
just like they are.
right.
And then when that is over, then we probably have an expanded opportunity, or an opportunity for expanded discussion and depth
Yeah.
and so forth.
Yeah. There's going to be, I'm going to work on this though, because the other day, while I missed you and I missed the interaction, I realized that I was able to get my thought out in a really coherent way, knowing that I had this, I was watching my time, how much am I going to cover in this time frame, etc. Okay, so things are in motion here. Any last thoughts or last words or whatever before we move on to our declarations here? Okay. We've done the declaration several different ways in the prior groups. One of the ways that we did them was I would actually repeat them, and everyone would just listen to me repeating it. Another way that we did them is each one of us would go around the circle and say the next one. Another way that we did it was all of us together would say it the way that we're saying it now. And it hits different ways with different groups. It allows you to either get into the energy or pull back away from the energy. Would you like to do it a different way today?
No.
Okay.
What word are we using?
Huh?
Which one are we using?
Let's do the shadows in general and the light in general, okay? So this time we're going to read it the way it's actually written, okay? And that's going to be in alignment with our pause moment here. Okay. Do you need an extra one?
Yeah, I left my net bucket. The next one.
Okay, she can.
She's gonna check.
Okay.
And you're asking this one. Yeah, it's be passed around. It'll be good. There you go.
Okay, so as one, I release and then transmute the shadows. Can we stop for a second? One of the things that I was contemplating as we were doing, as I was thinking about energy, is recognizing that when I'm doing this, I am responsible. I'm taking on the responsibility. I'm opening myself to the responsibility for making a change in myself. And I'm opening myself to the responsibility of making a change in this group. and I'm opening myself to the responsibility for making a change in our entire society. And so even saying that has opened something up for me right now. And I encourage each of you to take that responsibility right now. And so when we are saying this, we're not just saying it, we're actually doing it. Okay, so if we can do this together. I release and transmute the shadows. All beings release and transmute the shadows. The shadows transmute to their highest possible energy for the good of all beings. May I be free from the shadows. May you be free from the shadows. May all beings be free from the shadows. Let's take a breath. And for the same level of energy and the same depth and the same light that we say together, I embrace, shine, strengthen, and intensify the lights. All beings embrace, shine, strengthen, and intensify the lights. The light shines at its highest possible energy in all human societies and the world for the good of all beings. All stories, systems, and structures transmute for the good of all beings. May I embrace the light. May you embrace the light. May all beings embrace the light.
Sherry, thank you. I felt a shift as soon as you said that. It felt like you made it sacred when you said what you said.
I'm still vibrating here, so yes. Yeah. We may be onto something, who knows. Okay. Shall we do end with our inclusivity prayer? And you may want to move your chairs back. This is a tight area to be. Okay, so we are facing east. Facing east. I honor all beings, regardless of form. I honor all beings who have my form. I honor all beings who have all other forms. I honor all beings who are beyond form. Facing south. I honor all beings regardless of place. I honor all beings of this place. I honor all beings in all other places. I honor all beings who are beyond place. Facing west. I honor all beings regardless of time. I honor all beings of this time. I honor all beings of all other times. I honor all beings who are beyond time. Facing north. I honor all beings regardless of consciousness. I honor all beings who share this consciousness. I honor all beings with all other forms of consciousness. I honor all beings despite any differences or limitations of consciousness. All energy, every molecule of the universe has consciousness. Facing outside the circle. I honor all beings as I honor myself. Facing inside the circle. I honor myself as I honor all beings. And Bill, we're going to do this the longer way. So first me, then you, then all. So, may I be well. May I be secure. May I be happy. May you be well. May you be secure. May you be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be secure. May all beings be happy. And so it is. And thank you.